Page 387. Page 388. Page 389. Page 390. Page 391. Senator Emmanuel Okajeff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, Jeff. I represent Benue Northwest. I rise to move that the Senate do adopt the votes and proceedings of 28th November 2019. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Obasanjo.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Obasanjo. I represent Kano Central. I rise to second that the vote and proceedings of Wednesday 20th November 2019 be adopted. I second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday 20th November 2019 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Wednesday 20th November 2019 is hereby approved. Today, the 21st of November, is the birthday of one of our distinguished colleagues, very distinguished Senator Buhari Abdul Fattah. I wish to, on behalf of the Senate, congratulate our distinguished colleagues, wish him a very happy birthday, long life, prosperity, and many more years of service to our fatherland. I wish to acknowledge the presence of staff and students of Victory Baptist High School, Kefi, Nasarawa State, who are here in the gallery to observe Senate proceedings. You are welcome. I wish you a very fruitful observation of the Senate proceedings today. You may sit down, please. Petitions. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ibikule Amosun on the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 185, first reading.
Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 185, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari on the Public Health Institutions Trust Fund Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Public Health Institution Trust Fund Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 188, first reading.
Public Health Institutions Trust Fund Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 188, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Muhammad Ali Ndumi on the Social Intervention Programs Agency Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Social Intervention Program Agency Establishment Extra Bill 2019, SB 190, first reading.
Social Intervention Programs Agency Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 190, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Nigerian Meteorological Agency Act 2003 Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Meteorological Agency Act 2003, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 192, first reading.
Nigerian Meteorological Agency Act 2003, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 192, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology Act, CAP N96, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian College of Aviation Technology Act, CAP N96, LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 193, first reading.
Nigerian College of Aviation Technology Act Cap N96 LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 193, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency Act, CAP N90, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigeria Airspace Management Agency Act, CAP N90, LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 194, first reading.
Nigerian Airspace Management Agency Act Cap N90 LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 194, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the seventh business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Civil Aviation Act 2006, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Civil Aviation Act 2006, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 195, first reading.
Civil Aviation Act 2006, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 195, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the eighth business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Act, CAP F5, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Act, CAP F5, LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 196, first reading.
Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Act Cap F5 LFN 2004, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2019, SB 196, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the ninth business of the day is the presentation of an executive bill standing in my name on the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment, etc. Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment etc. Bill 2019, SB 197, first reading.
Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 197, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the 10th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Obasani on the care and protection of child parents Bill 2019. Mr. President, we wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill 2019, SB 198, first reading.
Care and Protection of Child Parents Bill 2019, SB 198, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the 11th business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Stella Adazi Odwa on the Integrated Rural Development Agency Establishment Act Bill 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Integrated Rural Development Agency Establishment etc. Bill 2019, SB 199, first reading.
Integrated Rural Development Agency Establishment, etc. Bill 2019, SB 199, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the 12th business of the day is the presentation and laying of the report of the Committee on Ethics and Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of A, petition from Mr. Ezekiel D. Musa against the federal government of Nigeria for the non-inclusion of FCT indigents on the ministerial list of 2019, screened by the Senate. B, petition from Alhaji Aminu Jafar and 3 others against the Nigerian Defense Academy, NDA, Kaduna, for the unjust withdrawal of 4 cadets from the academy on academic grounds. And C, petition from Last Corporal Omoaka Itunoya and Private Woru Musa against Military Pensions Board for alleged non-payment of monthly pensions by the board. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Patrick Akinyelure, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Patrick Ayo Akinyelure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Ayo Akinyelure. I represent Ondo Central. Mr. President, I stand to move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of A, petition from Mr. Ezekiel D. Musa against the federal government of Nigeria for the non-inclusion of FCT indigents on the ministerial list of 2019, screened by the Senate of Federal Republic of Nigeria. 2B, petition from Alhaji Aminu Jafar and 3 others against the Nigerian Defense Academy, NDA, Kaduna, for the unjust withdrawal of 4 cadet officers from the academy on academic grounds. And C, petition from Last Corporal Omoaka Itoya and PT Woru Musa against the Military Pension Board for alleged non-payment of monthly pension by the board. Mr. President, I seek the indulgence of the Senate to lay the petition before the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Kabir Barkia, second, please, for the Senate to receive the reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion to receive the report by the chairman of the committee. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate receives the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Relations say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may read the reports, please. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the only order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Finance on Finance Bill 2019. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 6 November 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Solomon Olamilekong Adiola, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Solomon Adiola Olamilekong.
Thank you, Mr. President. Solomon Adiola Olamilekong, representing Lagos West Senatorial District, Lagos State. Mr. President, may I move that this Senate do receive and consider the report of the Senate Committee on Finance on Nigerian Tax and Fiscal Amendment Bill, Finance Bill 2019. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, I so move.
Very distinguished Senator James Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. My highly respected colleagues, James Ebiowo, Manager, CEO in Delta South. Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as moved by the Chairman, Senior Committee on Finance, for him to lay and then present this very important bill on finance. Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues for the opportunity.
You are welcome, the Elder of the Senate. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the reports of the Senate Committee on Finance say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Please lay the reports. Please present the report.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, Adiola Solomon Olamilekong, representing Lagos West Senatorial District in the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Introduction. The Finance Bill was presented together with the Appropriation Bill to the National Assembly by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, on the 14th of October 2019. The Senate, at its sitting on Wednesday, 6th of November 2019, read the Tax and Fiscal Law Amendment Bill 2019 Finance Bill the second time and refer same to the Committee on Finance for further legislative action. Within the legislative standing order, the bill seeks to amend 6 tax provisions and make them more responsive to tax reform policies, and also 1 Custom and Excise Tariff Act to encourage local manufacturers. The bill subjects certain imported goods. This will subject certain imported goods to excise duty in a similar manner as their locally manufactured counterpart. The 7th Act to be amended under this Finance Bill 2019 contains a total of 56 clauses and the committee immediately swung into action, held several meetings with members and critical stakeholders, and is expected to lay its report within 2 weeks. The membership of the committee 3.0, we have the list of the acts to be amended in the finance bill. The bill specifically seeks to, among other things, amend the following tax provision and make them more responsive to the tax policies of the federal government and enhance in implementation and effectiveness. The initiative to reform the tax system and the proposed modification to the fiscal rules around taxation are clearly aimed at creating an enabling business environment and minimizing the tax burden for micro, small, and medium enterprise, the MSME. The acts to be amended in the finance bill are as follows. The Company Income Tax Act, Cap C21/2004, as amended today, and listed below are the various headings inside that principal act that was amended. 2, the Value Added Tax Act, Cap 6, Law LHN 2007, as amended. Also listed below are the various headings inside the principal act that was amended. 3, we have the Custom and Excise Tariff Consolidation Act, Cap C49/2004. The only amendment sought in that particular bill act is good liable to excise duty. 4, the Personal Income Tax Act, Cap P8 LFN 2007, as amended. Also listed underneath are the various headings of provisions to be amended. 5, we have the Capital Gain Tax Act, Cap C1 LFN 2007. And 6, we have the Stamp Duty Act, Cap S8 LFN 2007. And lastly, the Petroleum Profit Tax Act, PPT A 2004. The objective of the bill: 1, to promote fiscal equity by mitigating instances of regressive taxation. 2, reform domestic tax law to align with global best practices. 3, introduce tax incentive for investment in infrastructure and capital markets. 4, support small businesses in line with the ongoing ease of doing business reform. And 5, raise revenue for the government. The methodology adopted, Mr. President, is reported in 5.0. 6.0, Mr. President, that contains the public hearing. The committee conducted a public hearing on Tuesday, the 19th of November, 2019. The hearing attracted an impressive turnout of committee members, ministries, department agencies, critical stakeholders, civil society organizations, non-government organizations, and members of the public. Mr. President, also contained under the public hearing are the list of those who are invited and appeared and even make their contribution and submission of the memorandum during the public hearing. Observation, reported in 7.0. Following the presentation at the public hearing and submission made by the relevant stakeholders, the committee observed that 1, the bill seeks to amend the provision of the Company Income Tax Act by curbing base erosion and profit shifting as proposed by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and broaden the trigger for domestic taxation of income earned by non-resident companies in Nigeria through dependent agents and via online marketing platform. 2, the bill also seeks to address the taxation of industry such as insurance, startup, and capital market deemed by the federal government of Nigeria as critical to the growth and development of the Nigerian economy. 3, the bill proposed to improve the efficiency of the Nigerian VAT system, taking into consideration recommendations from various stakeholders groups. Attached herewith is a list of selected countries with their respective VAT rates. 4, the bill also seeks to expand VAT coverage by addressing some critical issues such as taxation of digital economy, VAT registration threshold, and intangibles. 5, the bill wishes to subject certain imported goods to excise duty in a similar manner as their local manufacturer counterparts. 6, the bill also seeks to provide clarity and efficiency in the administration of individual income taxes in Nigeria. 7, the bill also covers the taxation of business combinations and seeks to prevent abuse of provision of the Act on group restructuring. 8, the bill also seeks to increase revenue generation from duties on electronic stamp duty. 9. The bill seeks to improve revenue by removing the tax exemption granted for dividend or income received from companies charged under the Petroleum Profit Tax Act. 10. The bill was a welcome development, and the consensus view was that its proposal and principle should be sustained subject to specific recommendation of the committee. Recommendation. The committees summarized the specific issues raised by the various stakeholders on the relevant sections of the bill. The issues were considered and the following recommendations were made. 1. The committee also noted the initiative of the executive in the finance bill alongside the executive budget proposal and the appropriation bill was welcome and long overdue. Going forward, the executive should be encouraged to propose to the National Assembly the finance bill to support the fiscal policies of the annual budget and should also sustain the initiative on an annual tradition. The committee hereby recommends that the underlying section proposed amendment to the finance bill be approved by the Senate. And listed below, Mr. President, under the Company Income Tax Act, we have 25 provisions being sought after for an amendment into this particular principal act. On the Personal Income Tax Act, we have a total of 8 provisions in the principal act that is being subject to amendment. Under the value-added tax, Mr. President, the bill seeks for amendment to 14 different acts of the principal act to be amended. Under the capital gain tax, the bill seeks for amendment into 4 of the principal acts to be amended. And also the stamp duty sought for a total of 3 of the principal acts to be amended, while the custom and excise seek for 1 out of the principal act to be amended, and also the petroleum profit tax seek for 1 of the principal acts to be amended. Conclusion. The committee expressed appreciation to the leadership of the Senate and also thank the entire members of the committee and staff of the Secretariat who work seriously to ensure timely completion of the report. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, thank you very much.
Comments? Senator Barrow Jibrin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barrow Jibrin, Kano North. Mr. President, permit me to commend the chairman and all the members of the Finance Committee for having done a wonderful job in processing this bill at the committee stage. They are able to do this despite the fact that the time frame given to them was very short. I'm sure they took into consideration the need for us as a country to reposition our tax system so that we'll be able to also strengthen our revenue base for the purpose of garnering the necessary funds to fund our needs to develop our country. They've done a wonderful job, Mr. President, and I think without much ado, we should go straight away to go into the clause-by-clause consideration of this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues. Distinguished colleagues will recall that when the budget was presented by Mr. President and we came to this highly reputable chamber to discuss it, I had the honor and the privilege of leading the discussion on the budget of the federal government, 2020 budget. And in leading that debate, members would note that I did not go through the normal process of extending praises and kowtowing the normal line of extolling the position of the executive arm of government, even though that was the expectation that was placed on me by my leadership of the majority of the membership of this chamber. I chose to go and toe the path of honor by actually noting that the major problems of this economy is a problem of revenue. And I also noted that the issue of the Nigerian economy is not an issue for all of us to play politics with. I think playing politics with the nature of the economy that we are facing is a very dangerous matter. And I also drew the attention of distinguished members, particularly the chairman of all the committees, of the important role and the important work that is before all of us, irrespective of the political platforms that brought us to this chamber. Why? Because this economy, as I said on that account, and the leader of the minority leader, of course, used it to draw some innuendos against me, which I accepted, but I thought I had to state the facts of the matter, irrespective of which party is leading this country at the moment. The issue of the economy is an issue that is beyond politics. To me, that's why I raised this very, very important observation. Whether it is APC today or it's PDP tomorrow, we have to come out and look at this matter and think of...
Leader, you are protected.
We should look at this matter, in a non-partisan way and look at it dispassionately. The major problem for some of us who have been students of economics and also teachers of economics, the major problem of the Nigerian economy is revenue. It's not debt, it's revenue. I will repeat, this is a 140 trillion economy, which hardly raises 8 billion in revenue. And a lot of the issues that are there is as a result of discretion. We have allowed our laws and the way in which we want the economy to be run on the basis of discretion. As a result of that, we have not been able to raise the necessary revenues that are very vital for the implementation of the major programs of any administration, whether it's an APC administration or a PDP administration. The time for us to change. No, let us be very clear about that. Let's be very clear about that.
Leader, now leader is like you are not likely to be protected anymore.
With due apologies to my members of my ruling party, I implore us to look at these issues that we are going to look at today in a very dispassionate and bipartisan way. We are talking about the future of this country. We are talking about the implementation of this budget. If we are to implement this budget 100%, we will have to swallow whatever political positions we have so that we can look at this issue dispassionately and pass the suggested amendments that are contained in the 7 bills that are now before for our consideration. I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Leader. Distinguished Senator Ibikunle Amosun.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ibikunle Amosun, I represent Ogun Central. Let me join my voice in commending the Committee of Finance, the chairman and members, for a job well done. But let me say, Mr. President, that leaders must be ready to take tough decisions. Once those decisions are for altruistic reason and in the best interest of our nation and our people. Governments are no magicians. You cannot give what you don't have. Yes, all of us come here every day. We complain about our infrastructures. We complain about almost everything, and which is what I call all these complaints. These are genuine complaints. We complain our road is not good. Yesterday we spoke at length on power. We want to diversify our economy. All of these good initiatives that we desire for our country will not be realized if we do not have the necessary revenue, of course, to achieve all of this. Yes, I agree that it will not just be by way of tax alone, but truly and clearly. And I'm happy that all of us here, we have the opportunity of tasting the other climes, how they operate. Indeed, if you look at the quantum of taxes that are being paid in all of those other climes, I will compare with what we are doing here, then you know clearly that there's this huge gap. And if we do not have the necessary wherewithal to fund all of these projects, infrastructure, education, health, power, name it, agriculture, tourism that we spoke about yesterday, we will need the necessary wherewithal to fund them. I'm happy that in these taxes that we are even looking at, it is not targeted at the downtrodden. If I've looked at it, this is my turf, I look at it. I am happy that, I can speak about stamp duty now, for instance. We are not getting anything from it. And you know, every day, it's not just about stamp duty, all the various gamut of taxes that there are. So all of this has been covered. And I know that Nigeria will be the better for it. The beauty of it is this: all this money being generated will not be squandered, will not be looted. We all know that whatever money that we get, we can see it, we can attest to it that this money are being judiciously used. So, Mr. President, I want to join my voice and in urging our people that this is not about a party. This is about our country. And this is not about this budget now. What we are doing today will be for the next maybe several years. Maybe before we review this, maybe the next 5 years or even maybe more. So, on that note, I want to support this bill, and I want to urge my colleagues that we should do away with partisanship. We should look at the message, including even the messenger in this instance. So, Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, let me remind us that we are not doing second reading. We are just taking the report. So if you have any comments, it should be on the report and it should be brief, because we have to consider the reports clause by clause. Senator George Thompson Sekibo.
Mr. Senior President, my respected and distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator George Thompson Sekibo, CON. I represent the Rivers East Central District. Mr. President, I want to commend the chairman on the Committee of Finance. I commend him because less than 3 weeks, this document, the bills were referred to him, about seven bills. And within this short period, he's been able to put them together, organize public hearing, compile the reports, and brought it forward to us for consideration. For me, the most important aspect of these bills is even the public hearing, where outside hosts, experts in different fields, who are our constituents, have looked at the bills with him and may have done maybe their own amendments. And perhaps based on that, he has put this report together for us. If the budget is proposed based also on this finance, based on the amendments, as a person from the opposition party, I will support it. I am supporting it because I don't want to hear that because we did not amend these bills. The much money we were expecting did not come. And for me, it is good to raise the funds by ourselves, than borrowing from outside. We have borrowed enough. We should not think about inward and see how we can generate revenue. There is one thing that is certain, even the village woman understands, that it's difficult for people to pay NEPA bills. We are used to free things. Nigerians are used to free things. Maybe that is how the founding fathers structured the economy. Otherwise, the amount of taxes we pay here compared to other climates, other countries, I don't think that we are paying too much taxes. But unfortunately, our economy too is not doing too well. So the people now don't also have the money. Now, if you also overtax them again, that will also be a problem. So I believe that if we take in between and then address the clauses, we will be arriving at something very good, very good. The only comment I will make, which is not what most people will disagree with me, is that 200 pages of a document about that, to look at them now and also perfect them. It needs certain magicians like the leader, the minority leader, and perhaps the senior president. But those of us who are still managing to catch up, it will be a little bit difficult. But we sit here and follow your speed, so we'll get them through. That's my case. Thank you very
much, distinguished Senator George Thompson Sakibo. Senator Comrade Patrick Abomoro, are you yielding your... Should I call somebody else?
Always ready.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Comrade Abba Patrick Moro, representing the very good people of the Benue South Senatorial District. Mr. President, I actually want to ask for some clarifications on this clause-by-clause consideration of the finance bill on issues that border on the value-added tax. Mr. President, I've looked at the annexures that have been put here. I can see some comparisons with some countries in this place, and I want to aver here that the basis of this comparison are not particularly explicable, in the sense, Mr. President, that when you compare some of these countries, you find out that most of them are countries where the system works. And where you have some discomfort here, you can find comfort in another arena. Of course, if you look at the infrastructural decay in our country today, Mr. President, the tendency is for us to conclude that, yes, it's because of revenue, lack of revenue, and the rest of them. But, Mr. President, I think I hold a contrary opinion here. That the basic problem that we have in this country is not necessarily because we don't have the revenue, but because, Mr. President, I think our revenues are not being properly managed. And so, Mr. President, I want to find some justification, further justification, for instance, on the area of raising our VAT from 5% to 7.5%. Because, Mr. President, I think that we must be very, very careful here that we don't create problems by attempting to find solutions to our problem. I want to think that the major task that we have is policy implementation and, of course, the proper management of our revenue. In that regard, Mr. President, in our earlier contribution on the general principles of certain bills that have come before us here, some of us have had reason to say, look, we must find a way to prevent some of the...
Distinguished Senator Abomoro, just like I said some minutes ago, we are not doing debate on the bills. We are considering, or we are commenting on the report. So what is next for us is after the comments that we will take, we are going to look at the report clause by clause. So we have done the second reading where, of course, our colleagues express either their support or concern about some of the amendments sought. So I think we don't have to go back to do that again. So you can round up, please, your comments, and this goes to every one of us, please.
Okay, Mr. President, in that regard, I want to summarize my comment here by saying that I do not find the justification for clause 36 very germane, and that we should reconsider our position on the agreement.
Now you have an opportunity when we come to vote on the clauses. You can vote against it. Distinguished Senator Olubunmi Adetumbi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm a member of this committee, and I attended full session of the public hearing. There is a message from Nigerians which I thought needed to be passed to the chamber. This is a well-attended public hearing, 231 room on the second floor Senate building, attended by virtually all the big accounting firms in Nigeria: Price Waterhouse, Arthur Anderson Audit, KPMG, Ernst & Young, Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, Chartered Institute of Taxation, Joint Tax Board, FIRS, the private sector arm of the oil sector in the Chamber of Commerce, and a large number of civil society organizations. They sent a message through this committee, and my chairman is listening, that they want to thank the federal government for bringing this innovative legislation, and that it is something that the public had expected for so long. And they asked us as a committee to pass a message to this chamber that they want us, on behalf of Nigerians and the economy, to pass this bill expeditiously, and that they look forward to a more regular review of the tax regime of Nigeria. And I thought this is an important message which I believe Nigerians deserve to know, and in particular, this chamber deserves to listen to. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleague. My name is Oji Uzokalo. I represent Abia North. I want to first of all thank the committee for a job well done, and also thank the leader sitting here for his position on the first day of this bill. And today, this bill has nothing to do with party, has nothing to do with our color or our height. This bill is about Nigerian people. And this bill is, we are not taxing the very poor. These are all luxurious items for the VAT. So if we are taxing luxurious items, if you don't want to use luxury items, you go back to the item you want to use. So it's a good bill for the society, because it's not a bill that has anything to do with PDP or APC or Young Democratic, what is the Ifeanyi Ubas, or that party. It's nothing to do. No. Senator, please don't.
Chief, we are protected. Please round up.
So it has nothing to do with anybody. This is about our economy. And if you're an operator of this economy, you will see that we are paying less tax in all fronts. So we need to commend the federal government for their forthrightness, APC-led administration for their forthrightness in bringing this.
Please. No, I think I will gradually withdraw my protection.
Okay, I rather sit down back. I don't want to continue. Thank you very much.
No, you round up. You have to round up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, if anybody is saying that we are waiting for PDP time to present this kind of time, I think their time has gone for a very long time. They would.
I don't think that's necessary. Senator Patrick Oba. Patrick Ifeanyi Oba.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You can state the correct name of your party now.
And it's quite unfortunate that the chief whip of this House chamber cannot pronounce my party very well. Anyway, Mr. President, you've protected him. Mr. President, I need to draw your attention on the motive and agenda of the Ninth Senate once again. Mr. President, our motto is to create a legislation that works for Nigeria. While thanking the chairman of the Finance Committee for a job well done, Mr. President, I need to draw the attention of the House on the petroleum profit tax bill. Petroleum is one of the most important aspects of our livelihood today in Nigeria. And it may also be known to the House that 60% of our financial revenue generations in this country is channeled towards importation of petroleum products. Mr. President, I think it would have been so nice if we are debating on removal of petroleum subsidy.
Please just restrict yourself to the subject under discussion. We are just commenting on the report. So just comment on the report and please round up.
Mr. President, yesterday we had a budget defense with the CG of Customs, and it was made known to us that there's an additional 150 kobo to be added. And looking at what is happening today, it is auto-tilting. It will be so bad for Nigerians. The industry is not growing, the downstream industry in Nigeria. 97% of importation of petroleum products in Nigeria is being controlled only by NNPC. Mr. President, looking at this petroleum import task, profit task, it is going to add more pains to Nigeria. I am of the opinion that it must be reviewed. And I want to correct the committee. There is no representation of the oil industry in this, open debate. The Depot and Tank Farm Owners Association were not there. The major oil marketers were not there. So I don't see a true reflection of the industry in that committee. And I stand to be challenged. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Gabriel Suswan.
Mr. President, Gabriel Suswan, I'm not Benue Northeast. Mr. President, I want to join my other colleagues in commending the Finance Committee because issues of tax are very technical and complex. For them to have gone through it within the short period that they had is a job well done. But Mr. President, I thank you very much also in trying to restrict those who are mentioning party here. This has got nothing to do with party. Every person is going to be taxed. My basic concern, Mr. President, is that no matter what people say here, like the Chief Whip said that luxurious item, this is going to eventually cascade down to the downtrodden people. And so I'm also concerned, and I raised this concern during the debate on MTEF as it regards the issue of VAT. Some of the amendments sought here on the tax, to repeal some of them and increase it. Some of them, no matter how you look at it, Mr. President, this is something that is going to affect all Nigerians. What I would have expected, I don't know whether that is in the offing, that the federal government should also, in the same vein, try to create some social safety net that we at least ameliorate the pains that people are going to go through. This is a shock. People are not used to this. Then it comes so sudden. We are representative of the people. And so they must see us as trying to protect and speak on their behalf. No matter how we look at this, eventually it's going to introduce some level of hardship. So if the federal government brings this, they should also find something to mitigate within the short period, even if it's not something that is sustainable. Within the short period, I would expect that there should be some social safety net that will mitigate the pains that will come with this sudden increase in taxable items in some areas. But VAT, Mr. President, when we come to passing VAT, I think, Mr. President, that we need to critically look at it. I've seen the comparison that Patrick Abamoro was talking about. Some of these countries, as a matter of fact, have some social welfare schemes that addresses the pains of the taxes that are so high in those countries. We have not taken that. So I think that for us, yes, we might pass this because the money is already captured in our budget. So if we do not pass them, it then means that the budget becomes unimplementable. And so it does look like we have no option but to pass it. But in passing this, let us look critically at the issue of VAT especially, because like I said, why the bill seek to bring in accruable revenue, it can also close down some of these areas that we seek to get money from. Because if suddenly I'm supposed to go to maybe a place like Amigo, people will stop going to these places. Those shops will close. So revenue that you seek to get from VAT in those areas, you will not get them. So I think that outside of VAT, the other ones, we can go along with it, but let us look critically at VAT. Let us not just pass that VAT aspect of this financial bill, Mr. President. So I feel with my colleagues that this tax will affect me. It will affect Malam Shetima from Borono. So it's not a tax that has anything to do with party. So people should not talk about party here. We're talking about something that touches and concerns all Nigerians and us inclusive. And so, Mr. President, we will go ahead to look at consideration, but I appeal with my colleague that let us look critically at the VAT aspect of this financial bill. Mr. President, I so submit.
Thank you very much. Before I call the leader for motion to go to the committee of the whole, let me comment that this is not, the 7 bills are not bills trying to put taxes on the masses of Nigeria. Let's not create that impression that we are just going to put taxes on Nigerians. What government is trying to do with those bills, and I'm sure during our debates, senators spoke for it, some were against some of these bills, is to create the revenue necessary for us to create the environment where we are able to provide health care, we are able to provide security, we are able to provide schools, we are able to have an economy that works for everyone. So it's not like we are going to put taxes on Nigerians. I agree with time. We should also be able to look at what are those things that we need to do to, in case some unintended consequences come up, to relieve people of some of these shocks that could happen. But I'm sure that once we're able to get our tax system right, revenues generated, collected, and remitted properly, government should be able to provide a lot of services and a lot of infrastructure that we desperately need. And on the party thing, I served as an opposition legislator for 16 years. I can't remember when I didn't vote for whatever that I thought was necessary for us to move as a country. Nobody stood up here to speak that he is PDP and therefore is not going to support this thing. Everybody is in this way, and this together, we are going to work for our country. And I believe that we shouldn't be talking too much about what the party, because PDP was in government for 16 years. We work with them to Today APC is in government, and I believe that in this Senate, we have been working together very, very well, very closely, and I believe that they will support every one single clause that will have to pass. Senate Leader.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion for the Senate to resolve into the Committee of the Whole in order to consider the bills contained in this report. There are 7 of them, bill by bill and clause by clause. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do resolve into a Committee of the Whole for a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill.
Those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the reports clause by clause say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, Senator Bella Mandia, please leave Suswam alone. Senator San Musa, please leave Senator Ifeanyi alone. Don't worry, you are coming to this side pretty soon. Distinguished colleagues, we will start with the company's income tax, and that this Act has 3 amendments sought. Companies income tax, this one. Companies Income Tax Act. So I will be putting the question on the clauses, and we can vote for or against, or if you think there's an error or something, you can, but no debate on it at the moment. So I'll put the question, and what we'll be looking at is column 3. That is the committee's recommendation. That is what I'll be putting the question. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, where is clause 1 now? Because what we have here is 9. Part 2, 9.
This is because the committee wrote section 9 of the act, but what we are considering, we are not considering sections, we are considering clauses. So you can just cross the section 9 is clause 1. It's supposed to be clause 1. That is what the committee is supposed to.
Just a minute, let me just be clarified. If you look at the proposed bill, where it says charge of tax 1. At B, it says by inserting an expanded definition. I mean, that's not in the act. So what we thought was that you will see the act, then you will see the what is changed, and then we will now have the remarks. And the remarks here just says sustain, sustain. You don't really know what is being sustained. So we need to be able to, what exactly are you checking? Can you explain it, please?
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleague, the bill referred to by Senator, by the Minority Leader is contained in the Principal Act and is under the C part. And the bill says by expanding the definition of interest and dividend in subsection 1C. And if you go to the Principal Act, the next page, you will see where you have dividend, interest, royalty, discount, charges, or annuity. And it specifically refers to an expanded definition to cover some areas that have not been taken care of originally in the Principal Act. And the definition is clearly stated. If you go, if you read the 1B later, you will now see the definition now given to both the dividends and interest. That's what it's
Maybe this has to now do with nomenclatures and how we can see things. Because if you present something, usually in a bill, and you say sustain, what is expected is that you're sustaining the original thing. You understand? Not just to write sustain, 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 because that confuses us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleague, we have made this thing very easy for all of us to see. There are 4 columns that we have here. The first column contains the Principal Act of the Company Income Tax Act. The second column contains the amendment being sought for by the executive. Because there is no variation between the and the committee recommendation, because the committee has no anything different from the amendment being sought, that is why we are sustaining it. We will have make it a situation whereby we have.
Okay,
yes. So this. Okay. Yeah.
I think the error is because your committee recommendation should have reflected sustained there, sustaining what is in the principal act. So the amendment. So there shouldn't have been sustained in the remarks column. So we should have simply said sustain, sustaining the amendment sought. The committee has no opinion. So I think minority leader, we are okay with that, but please. So the fourth column, where you put sustained, shouldn't have been there as far as this one is concerned. Yeah, the third column should have been. So the Secretariat, please take note. Secretariat should work it. We go to clause 2. Clause 2, page 3. Yeah, comment, minority leader.
In clause 2, for the amendment sought, is that every person engaged in banking requires to provide a tax identification number. If we sustain this, it will cut up more than half the bankable people in Nigeria. Because if somebody is in the village, how does he get a tax identification number? Your tax identification number, you're talking about those in the urban areas, but we want to expand banking, really. And we want to make sure that everybody comes into some kind of net. So I would think that maybe this should have some time frame within which you ought to have had this tax identification number.
But I think if you read, that is, if you look at the recommendation, and in fact you read this on page 4, every person engaged in banking in Nigeria shall require all companies, not the individual. So it's not like bankable individuals, all companies, and companies should be able to do that. So I will put the question. Those in favor of clause 2 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 3 on page 5. It's the same thing with page 1 where the committee put sustain. The sustain should have been on column 3. Are we okay with that? So those in favor that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Secretariat, you have to work on that. Clause 4. The same thing. You have to work it. Those in favor that clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk. We go to page 13. Page 13, clause 5. Page 13. It's the same thing, sustained. Those clause 13, the second one, the second clause, page 13. The first one is part of clause 4. So those in favor that clause 5 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 15. Clause 6 is also sustained. Those in favor that clause 6 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 7 on page 16. Those in favor that clause 7 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 8. On page 24. The same sustained. Those in favor that clause 8 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 9 on page 31. Page 31. Those in favor that clause 9 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 32, clause 10. Those in favor that clause 10 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 47, page 47, clause 11 is sustained. Those in favor that clause 11 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 50, page 50 is also sustained. Clause 12, those in favor that clause 12 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, page 53. Those in favor that clause 13 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 56, clause 14. Those in favor that clause 14 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 61, clause 15 is also sustained. Those in favor that clause 15 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 62, clause 16 is also sustained. No change. Those in favor that clause 16 stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Page 64, clause 7 is also sustained. No, clause 17, sorry, is also sustained. Those in favor, actually I will put 17 and 18 because they are all sustained. Those in favor that clauses 17 and 18 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 19, page 68. Those in favor that clause 19 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Page 72, clause 20. '21 on page 74 is also sustained. 20. Okay, clause 20, Senator J.T. Sekibo. It's 72.
They said Section 78 of the Act is hereby amended by inserting a new subsection as follows. Where is the new subsection? Okay, on page 74. All right. Yes, okay.
I'll put the question on 20 and 21, actually and 22, because 22 is also sustained. So those in favor that clauses 20, 21, and 22 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Page 79, clause 23, interpretation. 79, sustained as well. Those in favor that clause 23 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule on page 82. Those in favor that the schedule remains part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Long title on page 1. Long title on page 1. Those in favor that the long title remains part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We take the next report and has only one section, one clause, and that is petroleum profit tax, and is sustained. You will see 26 is supposed to be clause 1, which is amending section 20, and it is sustained. What the executive has requested is sustained. So I'll put the question. You have not seen it. This is the paper. Just one sheet. Yes. Thank you. Have you seen it? Okay. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Long title. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We take the next, personal income tax. Personal income tax. Those in favor that clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Okay, clause 1 is sustained.
I really want to have a clarification from the chairman on B3. B3, yes, on the first page. Persons to whom tax is to be imposed. The first page. He said, every individual, I'm coming, every individual other than the persons covered under this subsection or corporation. On the first page, on B, that means that those under B are not subject to tax. So that's where they put persons employed by Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Air Force, Police Force, officers of the Nigerian Service, and every resident of the Federal Capital Territory. So we need to know exactly what that means.
Well, before the chairman, okay, let me ask the chairman. I have my explanation.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, very distinguished colleague. As you can see, what the minority leader, where he has read out from, is the Principal Act. Principal Act. And not all that is contained. What the committee has done is that have everything contained in the Principal Act under the personal income tax to be on this document. Now, the section of this Principal Act that was amended was explained in the proposed amendment sought for by the executive, and which read, person to whom tax is to be imposed. And it says, clause 1, section 2, subsection 2, section 49, subsection 1, section 86, subsection 2A, and of the Personal Income Tax Act, cap P8 law of the Federation of the as amended. And it's also so amended by substituting the word Federal Board of Inland Revenue with the federal. That is the only amendment being sought as at now. So for where he has drawn out from, no amendment was sought in that regard. Thank you.
Okay. Senator Sekibo.
I will take again from A. Every individual other than persons covered under paragraph B of this subsection or corporation or body of individuals deemed to be resident for that year in the relevant state under the provision of this act. Now they said the following other persons. Persons employed in the Nigerian Army, yeah, that is okay. Officers of the Nigerian Foreign Service. Number 3, every resident of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, should not pay tax. It's not clear. That's what we wanted. Explain to me.
My very distinguished colleague, don't go to page, the second page. Yeah. If you look at it, the section 2.
Yes.
What we are amending here is section 2, subsection 2 of the Principal Act. We are not amending section 2, subsection 1. So if you look at the amendment being sought, clearly stated in section 2 of this Principal Act, and that is the only amendment we are sorting in the bill, and that's all. So why am I paying tax? Now, Mr. President, very distinguished, the minority leader. Now, if you now want to introduce this amendment to the Principal Act, then you can bring it, or we wait till the next budget year when the amendment will be sought. We only work within the confines of what is given to us by the Senate. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That will, sir?
Distinguished minority leader, you know that procedurally we cannot start amending things that have not been requested to be amended. You can bring an amendment request after this one, but all that the bill seeks to do is to amend section 2, subsection 2. So if you feel we should amend section 2, subsection 1, you can bring a bill to do that amendment. So I'll put the question. Distinguished colleagues, if you go through clauses 1 to 4, they are all sustained. So I'll put the question on sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, and 4 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 5 in section in page 17. Clause 5 in page 17, on page 17. Is sustained as well. Okay. It's sustained. You can be sure of that. So those in favor that clause 5 remains part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The schedule on page 20. Page 20. Those in favor that the schedule remains part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Long title on page 1. Those in favor that the long title remains part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. We go to value added tax, VAT. Chairman, I thought you will use sustain because on the third column, because you are not changing anything, the rate of tax, if you look at it, is the same. Yeah, on page 2, for example. Yeah, but that is the request of the under committee recommendation. It should have just been sustained instead of repeating it as if it was an amendment. Yeah. Anyway, sometimes it's good to repeat, you know. Just exactly. Thank you very much. So I'll put the question on clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 remain part of the bill, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Sorry. Which one do you want to comment on? Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm under your protection, and I want to rely on what the Senate leader had earlier told us, that we should be dispassionate. Am I correct? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the rate of tax, which you said was not changed, but we can see that the rate was actually changed. In section 4.
What is not changed is the committee just accepted the proposal for the amendment of from 5 to 7.5. So the committee recommendation should have been just sustained. That was what I said.
We feel that the rate of tax should be left as it is. Nigerians are suffering too much already.
Thank you very much. I know you have done your job very well. You know that this is not second reading, and your point is noted, but you have already voted on the clause. So, colleagues, we go to clause 7 on page 6. Clause 7 on page 6. is sustained. Clause 8 is sustained. Clause 9 is sustained. Clause 10, there is no change. Clause 11, there is no change. Clause 12, there is no change. Clause 13, no change, sustained. And so clauses 7 to 13, all sustained. Those in favor that clauses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 13 remain part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule. Those in favor that the schedule remains part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule is on page 17. Long title. Those in favor, long title is on page 1. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. We have finished with that. The next one is one page, Customs and Excise Tariff. It's only a clause, and of course the committee has sustained the amendment sought in the bill. So I'll put the question. It's a one-page document. Those in favor that clause 1 remains part of this bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Long title. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Capital Gains Tax Act. Capital Gain Tax Act, and everything is sustained. So clauses 1, 2, 3, I think only 3 clauses. Those in favor, they are all sustained. There is nothing new from the committee. So those in favor that clauses 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Long title. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Last one. Stamp duties. And is sustained in clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 4. All are sustained. The committee has not introduced anything. They have simply upheld the amendment sought. So I'll put the question. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, and 4 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The schedule. Those in favor that the schedule stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Long title. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. You are welcome, former DSP, Senator Ike Ekwaremadu. You have taught us to be speedy. Thank you very much for this passage of the various clauses. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the chair resolve back to plenary to report progress. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion that the chairman do return with the same jet speed that we used to pass this to plenary. I so second.
Colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Finance on the Companies Income Tax Act Amendment Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 23 as recommended, Schedules 1 to 3 as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Finance on the Petroleum Profit Tax Amendment Bill 2019. Clause 1 as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Finance on the Personal Income Tax Amendment Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 8 as recommended, schedule as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Finance on the Value Added Tax Act Amendment Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 13 as recommended, schedule as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Finance on the Customs and Excise Tariff etc. Consolidation Act Amendment Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clause 1 as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Finance on the Capital Gains Tax Act Amendment Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 3 as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Finance on the Stamp Duties Act Amendment Bill 2019 and approved as follows. Clauses 1 to 4 as recommended, schedule as recommended, long title as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
I rise to move under a motion that the Finance Bill 2019 be now read the third time. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Minority Leader, have you seconded? That speed was fantastic. I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Company Income Tax Act, Cap C21, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, as amended, and for other matters connected therewith, 2009, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Companies Income Tax Act, Cap C21, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, as amended, and for other matters connected there with 2019, third reading taken and passed. Leader of the Senate, or clerk, sorry.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Petroleum Profit Tax and other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Petroleum Profit Tax and other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading taken and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Personal Income Tax Act, Cap P8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and for other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Personal Income Tax Act, Cap P8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and for other matters related therewith, 2009, third reading taken and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the bill for an act to amend the Value Added Tax Act, Cap V1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and for other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Value Added Tax Act, Cap V1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and other matters related thereof, 2009, third reading taken and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Custom and Excise Tariff, etc. Consolidation Act, Cap C49, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill, and for other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Customs and Excise Tariff, etc. Consolidation Act, Cap C49, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004 Amendment Bill, and for other matters related thereof, 2019, third reading taken and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Capital Gain Tax Act, Cap C1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Capital Gains Tax Act, Cap C1, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and for other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading taken and passed. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Stamp Duties Act, Cap S8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and for other matters related therewith, 2019, third reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Stamp Duties Act, Cap S8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2007, and for other related matters therewith, 2019, third reading taken and passed. Distinguished colleagues, let me thank all of us for passing those amendments to those 7 acts, largely to ensure that we streamline the tax system in Nigeria and ensure that we get revenues for government to provide services and infrastructure to the citizens of this country. What we have done is very significant because this is to ensure that we not only have sources of funding, very credible and of course reliable sources of funding for the 2020 appropriation or the budget, but also for subsequent activities of government. The revenue generating agencies would have to sit up. The National Assembly, particularly the Senate, will be mounting a lot of oversight on the revenue generating agencies. If they have targets, we must ensure they meet the targets. And if they meet the targets, we must ensure they get even higher targets to achieve. What we intend to do is to continuously, on a regular quarterly basis, engage with the revenue generating agencies to be evaluating their performances on how they are generating the revenues, what their challenges are, and where they have no challenges, how can we achieve better outcomes in terms of generation, collection, and remittances. We must ensure that any agency that is charged with this responsibility does its work effectively and efficiently. I believe that our Senate Committee on Finance and the other related committees like National Planning going forward, we'll have a lot of work to do for the 12 months in the 2020 year coming next year. I believe that what we have done is not to put taxes or burden on the ordinary people. What we have done is to create more revenues to provide services and infrastructure for Nigerians, including the ordinary people. I want to also commend all of us that this exercise was done on a very bipartisan manner, and that is what we are known for. Of course, some observations were made. I believe that some of those observations were genuine and the intentions were patriotic, and therefore there was nothing partisan about any issue raised by anyone in this chamber. Thank you very much. With this, let me invite the leader for the Senator, John.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues. We thank you very much for the deliberations of today, and having come to the conclusion of the proceedings on the order paper, I move that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, 26 November 2019 at 10 a.m. I so move.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reluctantly, and against my personal wish and desire, I do second the motion raised by the Majority Leader.
Minority Leader, I know you are full of energy, strength, zeal, and capacity to work. It's unfortunate we are not able to tap into those capacities that we have to adjourn, but I want to assure you, Tuesday maybe you will stay here until 3 or 4 p.m., if that is your wish. Those comments, I will put the question that those in favor that the Senate do adjourn till Tuesday, 26th of November 2019 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till Tuesday, 26th November 2019 at 10 a.m. prompt.